and welcome to Tome Alone. This is session 2. Before we get into the actual play session, I just wanted to run through the documentation that I use when I play. I usually put all of my documents in one place so that whenever I'm playing I can just open up that one document and everything's in there. The only other thing that would be separate would be my PDF of the Traveller Core rules, and I'll also have the Mythic PDF. So we're going to dive right into the Canva document that I've created. Like I say, you'll see the form fillables from Mythic, but then the rest is just created using Canva Pro. So I just took elements that I liked from Canva Pro that I thought was kind of fitting in with the world that I'm creating, and I kind of just add little sketches and drawings and things on there to add a bit of character. But the main reason I use this is purely because I do love journaling, but I have very bad handwriting, so I didn't think it would be very eligible for you to read. And for myself as well, I much prefer to have it more stylized and have things written down on the laptop. Here's the first page here. It's just like a little poster page that I made for it. So these are the character sheets that you've seen before. The next page is some notes I made for session 1. At the beginning of every session I like to discover a bit more about the initial scene that I'm going to be jumping into. Obviously there may be more than one scene per session, but at the beginning of the first scene I always look for place, history, person or persons, or thing or things. So as you can see, these are what I either rolled up or maybe I left certain things blank, but there'll be a variance of notes that I'll take at the beginning based on these things. I believe Geek Gamers had either came up with this or she discussed this in one of her videos, and I've kind of adopted it for the beginning of each session. So as you'll see for this session, session 2, the place we're going to be is Ward Hallage, but we're going to go to the guardhouse this time. Then the history, so instead of rolling on a table or a book, I ended up looking at the answer deck, and I just took 4 cards from the answer deck, and those were the results that I got. And then I tried to think about how Keach might envision what he's going to encounter before he enters the room, right? So as a detective, he's kind of thinking, right, there's probably one or more guards that assisted the robbery. He's definitely sure that there's got to be a security guard that did help, because unless there's footage when we get into the guardhouse, which I highly doubt there will be, then there's got to be one or more of them that assisted the robbery. So peace, again, maybe some of them have made peace with the idea that they've got away with it, and that could be their downfall. Anxiety, some of them might fear that they'll get caught. And then strength in numbers, is there more than one? So maybe he's apprehensive about approaching the guardhouse in case the security guards overrun him, Persons, obviously security guards and things. These were some things that I'd rolled up in a book. It was Pump 6 and Other Stories. I discovered this book because I was watching Love, Death and Robots, and one of the episodes I really loved was called Pop Squad, and that was based on one of the short stories from this book. I use this book just because it's a kind of sci-fi grimy setting, a lot of these short stories, I use this book as a kind of supplement, so that I'll roll on a random page, for instance, and I'll just either read the first couple of sentences or look at the first couple of words and see what sticks out. Very much like I'll do with a book of symbols, but it's a little bit more abstract, but sometimes that gives me a really good idea of things. And the things I rolled up here were dogfighting on TV, betting, and a guard caring for plants. So that lets me know a little bit about the dichotomy of the guards that are in this guardhouse. Obviously watching dogfighting on TV, that tells you a lot about Aliquot. It's a very kind of, as we know, a gang-ridden city. And so dogfighting, is garish as it is, it's something that they obviously bet on and they watch, and it tells you all you need to know about how awful this city is. And the guard caring for plants then is, again, there is maybe at least one guard who's trying to be good, or he just doesn't want to be there, right? He's caring for plants and he's showing a sign of caring for something, so maybe he doesn't want to be in this job. I don't know, we'll figure that out as we play. So that's what I do at the start of every session. Now this next page here is a who, what, when, where, why and how. And anytime I play like a detective style game or investigation style game, I just fall back on a page like this. So this one's been created for Case 1 Premium Cargo. The idea behind this is I'll keep referring back to it, and whenever I answer one of these big questions, that'll give me another leap forward in the case. by the end of it, once I've answered all of them, I'll know that the campaign is over, or at least the case is closed, right? Then this page is the mystery matrix. I'm not using the mythic fate chart as such. I might use it from time to time, I might refer to chaos factors from time to time, but really I'm not going to be using that aspect of mythic. I'm going to be just focused on the mystery matrix and using this as a way to gather clues and suspects. So as we can see, we've already got a lot of clues to run from just from the first session, and we've got our suspects like Yanadis, George O'Keefe and Hans Mandrake, and then Ellen Kruger. We have a little location icon on there because she needs to be tracked down, and she doesn't have any clues attached to her as yet. So you see these little illustrations and drawings I've got from Canva that are just nice little imagery to remind me exactly what the clues are. So sometimes I don't have to sit and read it, I can just look at it and remember. Like the DNA evidence reconstruction, those little symbols next to the names lets me know that I have their DNA. So maybe later on, if I do a scan or something of a room, if I find their house, I can find their DNA, maybe trace them, track them that way. And then there's some other little things on there that we can maybe go through in more detail as we play. So then the next page is the adventure list. So this is just how I'm keeping track of my threads and keeping track of characters that I find. And obviously the thread that would be leading on this one was the security officer involved, and that says the security officer, but maybe it was more than one. So the other thing that I have is 1001 characters, which is a supplement by Traveller. In that, it is just as it says, there's 1001 characters. I randomly rolled on the thugs table, I think, for the three suspects, and that's why I got the stats for Mandrake and for O'Keefe and for Adis. So this is the NPC stats page, kind of what it looks like. So I'll use the supplement to find the random stats for the character. I'll randomly roll on it, and then that's the stats that they'll get. So for Mandrake, it said that he was 22 years old. These were the stats that we got, and then he had a revolver. So whenever you take these characters from that supplement, then they get a 1 expertise in whatever skill that is attached to the weapon. So for instance, a revolver or a body pistol, they'll get gun combat 1. Obviously revolver gets a higher damage and body pistol a lower. But the last thing then is the HP. So I am not 100% familiar with the Traveller rules on damage, so that's something I'm going to have to learn as I go along. So just to keep it simple, I added the strength, dexterity and endurance together, and that's what's going to be like their HP. So then whatever damage I deal takes off that HP. If it's reduced to 0, then they die. And I'm just going to do it like that, I think, for my play session. So then let's just cover the dice that we're going to be using, because obviously we didn't cover that in the last session where the recording didn't work. So I'm going to be using these as my main go-to dice for the Traveller rules. Got some extra dice here for any kind of random tables and things I might be using, or if I'm going to use the mythic tables at all. And then we have this, which is the Fate Mill dice. I find it much better to use because it just speeds the process up. The fate chart is great and the chaos factor can produce some good results, but this is what I always go for and I always use. So I will be using this to answer the kind of oracle yes/no questions, and I may refer back to the mythic fate chart at some point, but for now this is what we've got. Now the Fate Mill dice, it comes with its own explanation behind what all of these mean, but I came up with my own sort of version, which is as so. And the reason why was because I just felt like yes and yes and the same with the no variation. Just felt like I couldn't really differentiate between yes and yes and. So I just wanted to tie everything into something I was a bit more familiar with, which was like exceptional yes, impossible, or nearly certain, very likely, 50-50. These gave me a bit more of a clear understanding as to what yes but maybe and maybe but is. It narrows it down to a more specific thing for me. So yeah, this is what I'll be working from if you want to have a look or take note of that if you're unsure as to why I'm not specifically going with what the Fate Mill explanations are for these. Now, last time we left Keach, he exited the depot, didn't he? He went through that door. So I think as he comes through that door, he enters into like a forecourt, and we see lots of kind of like shipping containers and crates and other kind of more industrial style cargoes stocked up on pallets or stocked up ready for collection from, I don't know, spaceships that are coming down. What would you call them? Like transport ships maybe coming down and picking these up. Kind of the stomach of the ship opens up and comes down and takes this massive crate filled with canisters or filled with shipping containers, and then that swallows up and then lifts off and takes it off, and they just come and go picking up the cargo as and when. There's no ship there at the moment, but like he walks through, it's kind of gotten darker now. This is kind of like the coming into the night shift, so whoever's taken over would have been the night shift security guards. So they're not maybe necessarily the security guards that would have been there on the day of the robbery. I didn't mention in the last video, but something that's kind of came to mind now just as I'm beginning to play is that we never really established when the robbery took place. Apart from, we did establish that it was during a shift. So I think the depot doesn't run 24/7 for the workers. I think perhaps it closes on an evening, but I think it closes on an evening, but perhaps this took place sort of during an afternoon shift. So I think it maybe took place, say, 3 days ago from now. I don't know, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So let's go with that. 3 days ago, 2 o'clock in the afternoon was when it took place, and he's come out into the forecourt. He's going to go and approach the security guys because he wants to get any footage, if there's any footage of the actual crime, to corroborate his reconstruction. So he's walking across the forecourt, and he's, in the corner of this kind of grungy forecourt, you can see this kind of long, almost like a hut, it's like, it's probably made of metal or corrugated metal or something like that, and it's got some windows, but really it's kind of ramshackle, and it's almost as if they've just been shoved in the corner, left to be forgotten about, and it's probably why they maybe hold a grudge, or why it's easy to pay them off to look the other way. So Keach, he comes up to the side of this hut, he kind of wipes down the window and has a look inside, and you can see that there's currently two security guards that are inside the hut, and they're both watching a big massive monitor, but on the monitor, rather than the depot, they're watching the dog fighting, or at least one of them's watching the dog fighting, and he's having a bit of a raucous laugh to himself, and he's like putting down some chits on some credits. He's putting down some credits on the table, and he's like putting a bet down. There's like a hologram that pops up on the table that you can see, and he's like constantly flicking this pressing this hologram and swirling it around and putting on credits, and almost like a roulette table over there, and he sees the dogs that are fighting on the monitor, and the other guard is over in the corner watering a plant. So Keach then, he decides to come and make his presence known, so he comes round to like the main door, and this is like there's only one entrance on the other opposite side of the hut, and it's got one of those kind of, I'm not sure if it's like a sliding door or if the door, it's like one of those sci-fi doors that just shoots straight up as soon as you open it. It's like automatic. I'm not sure. Let's have a look and see maybe if is the door automatic? No, but so unlikely. It's unlikely to be automatic. So he gets to the door, and there's like a camera on there, and a little kind of flashing light pops up, and on the TV screen, the dogs that are fighting, that just like ceases, and then it brings up like the image of Keach standing outside the door, and the security guard who is watching the TV is kind of like, hey, come on, I was watching that, and the other one watering the plant is like, hurry up, resume duties, go open the door, let him in. And it's kind of like, I think maybe the security guard who is watering the plant, I think he kind of is aware that Keach is supposed to approach them at some point tonight, that Olmec has made him aware, so he's maybe like the lead security guard, and the other guy is maybe a little bit younger and a bit dumber, and he's not really like aware of it, and so he like rushes over, and he kind of goes to open the door, and he opens the door straight away. So Keach enters into the building, into the hut, and I think at this point it'd be good for me I usually would come up with some names for these NPCs. We'll use Pump 6 to see if there's any kind of names. I've just opened up to page 87. So Keely and Jai, I think they're cool names. So Jai will be the grandson, he'll be the young guy then. So the young guy is called Jai, and the old guy is going to be called Keely. So I'm just going to use 1001 Traveller to come up with some stats for these two. Okay, so Keely and Jai then. So just bringing this up on the screen now, we've got Jai came up as 22 years and Keely came up as 34 years. Like I say, I used 1001 Traveller to just randomly come up with their stats. The closest thing I can find in there to a security guard was police, so I just chose 2 random police stats for that. Usually I would roll, but on this occasion I've just chosen 2 characters with stats. So one of them has a blade and Keely has a body pistol. So Keach is standing in the kind of doorway. Jai comes up to him and he's kind of like, "You're not supposed to be in here. This is only for the security personnel, you know, what's your purpose here?" And I think Kelly in the corner, he knows a bit better, you know, maybe Olmec's already had a chat with him to say that he's going to be hiring a private detective, and he kind of bucks up and says, "You must be Keach." He goes, "Yeah, we're expecting you." He goes, "Stand down, Jai." And Jai kind of like walks back, and he's just got this kind of cockiness to him, but he kind of stands back and lets Keach walk in. And he walks to the middle of the room, and he's kind of like, "Is you Kelly?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "You're here to check over the CCTV footage." Keach is like, yeah, I'm here to see the CCTV footage." And straight away, I think Kelly would, you know, these guys, I think there is something off about them. You know, maybe they know more than they should, or maybe they did help in the robbery, but straight away Keach gets a kind of bad vibe. And Kelly straight away comes up and says, "You know, there is no footage. I told Olmec that there's no footage. When they opened the canister with the liquid light, the rays from the light were so strong that it evaporated the sensors on the CCTV. The only footage we have is static." And Keach kind of turns around and looks at Jai, who's sort of standing there with his arms crossed. And he turns back to Kelly and he's like, "Well, maybe let me have a look at it anyway. You guys don't need to be here if you have jobs to do." And Kelly sort of looks up and says to Jai, "Go do the rounds." So Jai kind of like strolls backwards, presses the button, the door opens, and he kind of saunters off. The door closes again, and then Keach walks up and kind of joins Kelly up by the terminal. So I imagine in this, like, the interior of this place, there's like one big main terminal that has all this like CCTV. I don't know, maybe like a table and chairs and lockers, things like that. He's probably got some lockers where they would keep their personal stuff whilst they're in uniform, and maybe some kind of vending machine or something for refreshments. But it's kind of run down. It's ramshackle. There's not much to it. It's mainly the big CCTV operation, like the big screens and lots of things like that. So Keach heads up to him, and again Kelly's like, "I don't know what you're gonna find. There's no footage on there." Keach kind of goes, "That's okay." And Keach doesn't have really any skills in computers. He's got a 0 in electronics, so he can muck about with a computer, but I don't think he's got any particular skill. I think on this occasion we're going to need to, maybe he kind of flashes up something on his eyes. Like, I think he has this internal computer, right? But I think somewhere in there he would have some kind of telecommunication. So he kind of like flashes his eyes or blinks his eyes or whatever, and he brings up his phone, and he's calling his contact. And he turns around to Kelly and he's kind of like, "You know, you can just wait over there." And Kelly's like, "As you like." And he walks over and he goes to stand by his lockers, but he doesn't take his eyes off Keach. And Keach gets ready to kind of take some commands from his contact. We need to turn to our contacts page. Okay, so Meek Hacker is starting to suspect truth. Benny Rooster. I think Benny's the one to call. So we call up Benny. I have this security system that I need you to hack. I need you to have a look and see if we can uncorrupt this data. I need to see what happened 3 days ago around 2 o'clock. So I think in order to get Benny to successfully help us, I think this might be a good time to do a luck check, just to see how lucky Benny gets if he's able to do this. Like, is this a quick job, or I think we'll roll luck on this first and then see how the luck goes. So I'm going to roll for luck. So with regards to luck, I have 11 luck plus 1 on a luck. And the way I understand luck in Traveller is that you roll your 2 dice, and you don't have any other modifiers other than if you have a luck modifier, obviously. So it's just I'll have a +1 on this roll, and I have to hit an 8 or above. So you go for the average roll. So I need an 8 and above. Look at that, double sixes as well. So I think that's going to be a random event as well. For this then we get to roll on the mystery events focus table. So that is a D100 roll. And we got an 82. So that's move away from a thread. Okay, move away from the thread. Okay, so I'm thinking something a little bit different here then. Move away from a thread. I would think the thread that we'd be moving away from is there any footage of the robbery, because that is what we're, that we got a great success. So Benny Rooster's gonna hack it, and he's probably gonna give us either clear footage back of the robbery or at least some more damning evidence. So when it says move away from a thread, and I'm moving away, I guess if I'm moving away from finding the footage, maybe Kelly does something to kind of take my attention away from the footage. Yeah, I think at that point then, let's just, to confirm my suspicions, I'm just going to take one of the answer deck cards and let's see what we get. So we got ending. That is perfect. So I was thinking that Kelly has gone over by the lockers, right? And he's opened up one of the lockers and he's taken out a gun. Now I think when the security is on shift, they're not allowed to have like loaded weapons. They have maybe these like maybe tasers or maybe like or they have like stun sticks, right? The only thing that they have on them, however, they can have their personal belongings in the locker, and then when they finish their shift, they can collect what they want. So I think he has obviously a firearm, he has a piece, and he's gone in, and he's got it, and he's pointed it directly at us. Automatically Kelly's got the jump on me, right? So I think he sort of says, I really didn't want to have to resort to this, but that footage is meant to be found, or I can't let you reveal it. Okay, so even though he's got the draw on me, I think we need to roll for initiative. So rolling for initiative then is either a dex check or an intelligence check. Now, Keach has got an intelligence of 11, so he's got a +1 to his intelligence, and Kelly also has an intellect of 10 with a +1. So I think they both would probably roll intelligence. Both of them have almost identical dexterity, so yeah, I would say that then, and they're both the same age and they both have names with a K. I've only just realised. Okay, well anyway, I think, yeah, we both need to go for intelligence. So let's go with Kelly first. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So a 6 for Kelly. 5, 6, 7, and 8. 9 and 8 for me. So I'll be going first, and then Kelly will be going second. So this means I've got like a moment of like just before Kelly. Is he going to shoot me? Is he not going to shoot me? I'm not sure. He's an intelligent guy. I think he wants to maybe take me somewhere or escort me off the premises and, I don't know, put the fear into me. But I don't think he would just shoot straight away. So this is why I've got this like moment to make a decision. So I think then the only thing I can do is pull my gun. So I'm going to do a quick draw. I'm going to draw the gun out of my holster and I'm going to aim to fire. So I've got a +2 because I have one in gun combat, and I've got 1 because it's short range. And yeah, let's go. 10. I would have said that it was an average because we're at such close range with the gun, but even if it was difficult, I would have smashed it. So I draw quickly, and before he gets a shot off, I'm gonna say that I shot him in the hand. Actually, I'm going to say I shot him in the hand because I got 2 above the average there. So he like takes his gun out and he fires the laser, and the laser comes in it almost like hits the tip of the gun and slices his body, because he's only got a pistol. So I think he's just got like like he's got like a body pistol, you know. And the laser just slices through the metal and then like through his hand and takes off like maybe the top half of his hand, and he like screams in pain as it then the laser like ricochets into the lockers behind him, and he like bangs up against the lockers completely in shock, like, you know, can't believe that you shot him, and he sort of falls down and tips over one of the chairs, and he's screaming on the floor, and you kind of just holster your gun. And I'm not even going to do what the damage was on that. I think that is just fight over, you know. His shooting hand has been damaged. Keach just kind of composes himself for a moment, and then he calmly turns back around to the computer as you can hear the screaming in the background. And he's like, "Benny, are you there? Can you fix the corrupt data file?" And he's like, yeah, I can do it. I'm pretty certain I can do that. Maybe he's still kind of figuring it out, and he goes, "I'm still kind of cleaning up. I'm going to need a little bit of time." And he's like, "Great. Send me a copy as soon as you've got it." I think at that point, maybe the laser's kind of like so loud that all of a sudden Jai comes like running back, and you just see the door sort of slide open and Jai runs in. Keach kind of like picks up the gun and shows him the gun and says, "Kelly was going to shoot me." And now does Jai get involved? Does Jai want to initiate combat? Oh, he does. He does indeed. So I think then Jai, let's see what we rolled up for Jai. Okay, so for Jai then he's got melee 1 and he's got a blade, so he doesn't have a gun. I think he's got his stun baton maybe, or he's forgot to take it with him, and he's got like a little flip blade or something that he always carries on him that he's not supposed to have, but that's what he's got. I don't think he draws just yet, so we both do initiative, don't we? So Dex or intelligence? Well, his Dex is 8, his intelligence is 7, so I'm guessing it doesn't really matter which one. He's got 0 modifier on either of them. So we're going to do a Dex check. Okay, so he got a 10. And what am I going to get? I've got a +1, I'll go intelligence again. It's 9, I got a 9, he got a 10, so he goes first. So I think he's by the door, and he takes his knife out, he draws his knife. I don't think he's in distance to melee me though, so I think he just moves into melee. I think that move is a substantial move, so I'm thinking like athletics maybe, or just dexterity. So there's a few things in the way I would imagine from his run. So let's just do a challenge of like, I say it's pretty average, so an 8 or above, whether he manages to reach me with the knife. 5, 6, 7. Oh, so he just misses. Does he have any bonuses? No bonuses with melee. So yeah, so he doesn't quite get to me. I think he maybe gets to like where maybe Kelly is on the like rolling around still on the floor, trying to pick up the pieces of his hand, and he gets about that far, and he's like at the table with the knife. He sort of swings the knife, but he's far too far, and Keach kind of just stands and looks at him. And then I don't know if I want to shoot poor Jai, you know. this is Wild West, isn't it? So I'm gonna go shoot him again. So let's see what we got. Oh, we got 3. So my slow move is like I draw the gun, then I get a 3, 4, 5 with my 2. So I got a 5, and I think it would have been an average. So I failed. Yeah, I get the gun out and I go to shoot, but I kind of miss him. He could do a retaliation, can't he? So one of his things is to parry. I think that's what he's obviously done here. He's dodged it maybe. So he needs to inflict a penalty on his dexterity next time. So I would say it's like a -1 to his dexterity on his next move. But he manages to dodge. So yeah, I shoot. He kind of dodges. Maybe I wouldn't say that he like dives behind anything. I think he would just dodge it, and he just very luckily manages to get past that. Then he comes in, and I think he's close enough now. He's close enough to close enough to Keach to stab him again. So he's going to go in for a lunge. And I would say it's average again, 8+. So he got an 8, right on the money. Oh, -1, so he failed. Great. So he goes in to stab me, and I think Keach, I can parry as well, kind of, but I'm not going to parry. I think because he missed, he goes to swing, and Keach just manages to get out of the way, and he still can't quite reach him, and then Keach goes in for throwing the dice all over the joint. So I got a 9 there, and I'm saying it's average again for me to get the shot off. Plus I got a +2, 10, 11. Yeah, I think I get my gun off. So I never did the damage roll last time, did I? For which it didn't really matter because we blew his hand off, so we were a bit more specific. So let's do what the damage we do here. 11. So we got 11 damage. That's pretty substantial. So 11 damage to, and he had a HP of 21. 21 is now 11. So he's taken away like half of his health in one shot. I'm not sure that he's going to want to continue. So let's have a roll and see. Does Jai want to continue? Yes, but it's nearly certain that he wants to continue. Okay, so I think then Keach has like blown a hole maybe in his side. He's like shot him kind of, I don't know, near the shoulder or something. He's blowing his shoulder out, but Jai's still kind of like swinging just frantically. He gets more frantic and he's like screaming, and maybe it's hit through a little bit of like, I don't know if their security uniforms have any kind of like nano padding or something like that, but it does take a chunk out of him. It's like half of his health, so I think he's like severely clipped. You know, his other arm is just completely limp, but he's swinging this knife trying to just like manically get anywhere he can get near our man. So he's going again. He's not got any minuses this time. I think that was just from the last one, so he's gonna... Boom, he gets a 10, so he's just gone frantic with that blade, and I think he manages to land 2d for his damage, so he's done 4, 5, 6, 7 damage to us. So we're in a health of 24, 15, so we're down to 15 now. So we're not far in front of him. He gets like a good couple of stabs into him, and like, you know, pushes the knife, and they're just like tussling backwards. I think we're right in each other's face now. I've still got the gun firmly in my hand. I don't think I've dropped that yet. No, I don't think I've dropped that yet. So again, I'll go in for... I think I'll have to do the final kill on him. Like, he is too frantic with his knife. So let's go get the final blow. 7. Oh, and I get a bonus of 2, right? So 9. So I got a 9. So definitely got that. So let's see the damage we did with him. 7, so I took another 7 off him. So he's on 4. So I think at this point I've like taken maybe his leg out. So I've like shot him in the leg, or he's kind of gone back and fallen over. And we've got a few like cuts and you know, stab wounds, but we've kind of leaned back and we're up against the wall now, just looking over, and he's down. And Kelly's still kind of like almost passed out from the pain of his hand being blown off. Does Kelly get back up? That's the question. That is the question. We never facilitated what damage he got, so does he get back up? Yes, nearly certain that he does. I think he gets up and he runs. He's not got his gun anymore, we got his gun, so I think he runs. He runs for the door. At this moment, I'm imagining him in the middle of the room. So I think then for him to run, I don't know if there's any rules in Traveller for chase. I know in Blade Runner RPG there is, but maybe he can do a dexterity move. So I would say it's an average, maybe even routine. I'd say it's routine for him to like run halfway through the room to the door. I think that, does he get out of the door is what I'm trying to think in time. I think I'm all the way in the back of the room, so I think I've got quite a chunk of the room, plus all of the scattered kind of tables and chairs or whatever that's all on the floor, plus Jai is on the floor sort of gasping for air. And yeah, let's see if he gets it. So this is just a routine 6 plus 4. Oh man, so he's still kind of clutching his arm, his hand or whatever what's left of it, and he's kind of like hobbling towards the door. I don't think he's anywhere near the door yet though. So that gives us a chance to catch up. Again, our dexterity's crap. It's like 2 old men with some friends chasing each other. Let's see what I get. 6, 7, 8, 9. I got a 9. Alright. I would have said that was average for me because I'm much further back. So we catch up to him, but not... Yeah, we catch up to him and kind of rugby tackle him to the ground, I think. Do we have handcuffs? I don't have anything on my sheet to say that we do have handcuffs, but is there anything I can tie his hands up with in this room that's close to me now? definitely not. It's impossible. There is nothing there. So I think I'll just knock him out then. So let's do like a strength check to see if we can knock him out. Again, I note here about this whole combat experience. It might not be the specific rules, but this is how we're doing it. So I'm gonna do a strength. What have I got? I've got 10 strength. I've got +1. I'm gonna say, yeah, +1. So it's gonna be average 9. Yes. So I almighty thud down onto the back of his head, and it just completely sparks him out, and he's out cold. And Keach gets back up and kind of refrains himself, checks over his stab wounds from the crazy guy. Keach kind of comes back and like leans himself up against the lockers, and he's like bleeding out. But he's okay. The wounds weren't too deep, and he's had much worse. And he kind of hears a ping in the back of his ear from Benny, and he's like, "Oh, I've got the footage. Did he get clean footage? Let's ask." It's unlikely that it's clean, so I think he's got it as clean as he can possibly get it, and maybe it does kind of show what happens in the robbery and gives us a little bit more solid evidence as to who did it. I don't think it's so clean that it gives everybody, but it's going to give us at least one clean suspect. Like one, we're definitely going to know one person who is involved. Is that correct? Definitely, yes, and it's an exceptional yes. So we get at least one suspect for sure. Now let's think about who that suspect can be. Let's just go back to the character list. Okay, so I think what we'll do then is we're going to roll up on the character list, and I'm going to roll a d10, and we'll see which one is clear. 6. Georgia O'Keeffe. So we get a clear as day image of Georgia O'Keeffe, and we can now clearly say that we were right. And I think just from doing the DNA scan and like piecing the reconstruction that we're quite content with the fact that we got that right. We saw that it was Georgia O'Keeffe exactly standing where we thought she would be standing, dictating everything as we thought she would be dictating. She was kind of like the master. She was the one that rallied the two men to do this, to pull this job off. We know that Yana Dis had confessed that he was lookout, so he was part of it, and we don't have clear evidence as yet to suggest that Hans Mandrick had anything to do with it, even though we have the DNA there. That doesn't really corroborate him yet because, they've been working in that depot. So I think definitely now we have some clear evidence that George O'Keeffe at least committed this robbery. And I think we'll leave it there. That's a good place to leave it. What we'll do on the next session is we'll do the paperwork for the end of this session, and then we'll jump straight into the actual play of session 3. Okay, thanks very much. Take care. See you soon.